Coming up in the news, the government moving one step closer to acquiring the Grand Bahama International Airport. Reconstruction underway on a temporary runway at the Bimini International Airport. And youth leaders speaking out on behalf of a young man who claims he was falsely accused by police. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping the news tonight, the government moving one step closer to acquiring the Grand Bahama International Airport. The privately owned facility was severely damaged by Hurricane Dorian. Industry partners say the purchase and redevelopment of the airport is needed for the overall growth of the economy. Jamila Mizik reports.
Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources and Member of Parliament for Marco City, the Honorable Michael Pintard, tabling in the House of Assembly on Wednesday a bill for an act to amend the Airport Authority Act to provide for the acquisition, operation, and management of the Grand Bahama International Airport. The airport was severely damaged and inoperable since September 2019. The bill paves the way for the government to acquire the airport, which is privately owned. Pintard says he believes it is a move in the right direction.
And while we would have loved for this to have happened much earlier, we believe it sends a clear message to stakeholders in Grand Bahama that the government is very serious about correcting one of the major gaps in reviving the economy of Grand Bahama. And so I was pleased to be a part of simply laying the bill.
Minister Pintard says having a world-class airport is pivotal to regenerating investor confidence in Grand Bahama.
We are contemplating the revitalization of the tourism sector in part through the development of the hotel, but through a range of other initiatives designed by both the private sector, properties that already exist in Grand Bahama, as well as the Ministry of Tourism. That largely depends on having all of your gateways available, functioning, and at a world-class level. The airport is a pivotal part of that mix. And so many members of the business community, no doubt, will see this as a positive step in the right direction.
Minister of State for Grand Bahama and Finance, Kwesi Thompson, says the bill now puts in place the legal framework in order for the government to acquire the airport, noting that it also confirms the government's commitment to rebuild Grand Bahama.
It is important for us to first of all do an assessment to determine the way forward with respect to the airport. It has been destroyed several times by hurricanes over the last few years, and it does not make sense for us to simply put back what was there before. So an assessment has to be done on how we can make it resilient, and then the government will be able to move forward with a redevelopment by way of a public-private partnership.
Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
Meantime, major expansion at the Bimini International Airport. According to officials, the project, which is spearheaded by the Ministry of Works, will help to pave the way for additional airlift fourth at Northern Island. Italia Hall has more.
The contract for the expansion of the runway at the Bimini International Airport was signed in July of 2020, but work was delayed due to the pandemic. Work did not commence until the country's economy began to reopen in November. Owner of Knowles Construction, Emil Knowles, who is responsible for the project, says they will be reconstructing a 6,500-foot runway.
In order to reconstruct that rather than to close it, we are building a temporary runway that's 5,000 feet long that will be sealed in a sand sealed surface, which is fairly inexpensive, so that we can keep it open for the traveling public. and for Western Air's use specifically.
Now, Knowles says the temporary runway will be complete at the beginning of March, and once that runway is officially open, he and his team will then begin working on the existing runway.
They have to scarify the entire runway off. All of the existing surface, right now it's just full of potholes and it's pretty dangerous. So we're going to scarify it off. We're going to reconstruct the base by adding another 6 inches of fill, after which we'll seal it and then put on about 2.5 inches of asphalt.
The Ministry of Works is spearheading the project. Member of Parliament for West Grand, Bahama and Bimini, Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe says she is more than happy to welcome the new addition to the Bimini Airport.
What we've noticed is that as a result of this now underway, persons are very excited of what the potential will be with regards to more aircrafts coming in, larger aircrafts, which will also result in an increase in passengers. So this can only be beneficial to the business operators of this island because we'll be attracting so many more people. We're preparing for the post-COVID pandemic. We firmly believe that after all of this is done, people will want to travel again, and being equipped and prepared for that influx is something that we're taking advantage of while we're on the downtime.
Now, the project that employs some 22 people is worth some $6 million. Reporting in Bimini for ZNS Network News, I'm Natalia Hall.
Well, support coming in tonight for the young basketball player who says he was falsely arrested by police and accused of murder. Last night, the young man told ZNS News that the actions of police have ruined his life and he is now living in fear. Tonight, youth leaders are giving their support and are calling for the powers that be to clear his name. Jay Philippe reports.
Edward Williams, better known as EJ, was arrested by police just a stone's throw away from the business establishment where Omar Penn, aka Punch, was gunned down. His photo went viral on social media, and a WhatsApp message presumably sent out by a police officer claiming that Edward was arrested for Penn's murder. But while in custody, security footage of the fatal shooting went viral, showing a gunman making the fatal shot and the assailant bearing no resemblance to Edward, and he was later released. Edward's senior high school coach says the young man that he coached from 2017 to 2018 and played in the 2018 national championship game would never harm someone.
Knowing the kid that I coach, never found him to be a kid of violence or in that kind of arena in terms of, committing that kind of crime.
Coach Hall says since he has known Edward Williams Jr., there was never a time that he displayed violent behavior.
He put his best foot forward, whilst I coached him. And I think his character, in terms of being a good student and an athlete, speak for itself. I'm sure his peers would agree with me also. So, sorry that this had to, happen, but knowing the kid, I would never imagine him doing something like that.
12th grade teacher at Jackiewood High School and assistant coach of Jackiewood Senior High's basketball team says that he too was surprised when he heard that Edward was in custody.
When I saw the picture circulating around with him, I quickly called coach and I said, Coach, this I could almost guarantee that's not something that he would do. Now, he's playful, he's fun, he loves to make his teammates and stuff laugh of that sort. But in terms of violence or killing or harming someone, that's not his character.
In this photo, Edward can be seen with some of his teammates that played for Dudley Sade's Reach Out Ministry Summer League basketball team. Dudley, who also served as a mentor to Edward, says he spoke to him after he was released.
I tried to track him down. I finally spoke to him, and he said that he can't believe his whole life has been turned around through this incident. He was shaking, when I was talking to him.
He says he hopes that Edward, better known as EJ, can have his name cleared from the various serious matter.
Edward needed to get his name cleared, but what happened is we have a cold-blooded murderer. I saw the video. He was smoking a cigarette and drinking before he killed a person. And I think if we don't watch it, we'll lose that in this whole incident. There's a man died by the name of Punch. There's another young man, to me, they're ruling his life. And it's another young man who was a cold-blooded murderer. So I asking the government of the Bahamas to put a task force together and figure out how we could, find a way to solve this problem in this country.
I'm Jay Philippe, ZNS Network News.
Now, police say an investigation is underway, and any police officer found in breach of the policies will be made to give an account of their actions and will be dealt with according to the law. In other news, the island of Abaco will soon be placed on a strict curfew once again. This coming from Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, who told reporters in the capital today that he is aware of a recent spike in COVID-19 cases on that northern island. As a result, Dr. Minnis says it is the recommendation of medical professionals that the curfew be placed to 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. for 2 weeks, beginning Sunday, February 28th. The nation's leader also noted that any person traveling from mainland to Abaco to any other island will be required to take a RT-PCR test prior to traveling. And former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram, is hospitalized in the nation's capital, recovering from complications associated with COVID-19. According to reports, Ingram was home for 10 days after he tested positive for the virus and was only admitted to hospital on Tuesday. The 74-year-old former Prime Minister is said to be in stable condition. The former Prime Minister's wife and 2 staff members of his law firm also tested positive, but they are not hospitalized. Stay with us, there's more news right after this break.